This Arizonan roller coaster ride just keeps on going. Back-to-back shutouts and a preview against a team that just fired their coach. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. I am your host, Robin Leonio, alongside Matthew Jacobson. I want to thank everyone for making the show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. We're coming back after just a small day off on Monday. Just had to recharge a little bit, right, Matthew?
I was sick, my bad. I died last night.
It is fine. It is fine. But we do have to talk about what happened over the weekend. Arizona Coyotes getting back-to-back shutout wins over the Sharks and the Senators. We're going to talk about whether or not they're convincing enough to kind of like get as they broke that terrible losing streak, and can they keep it alive over the Senators? All that's coming up on today's episode. So let's start talking about. First of all, I guess let's go in order. So let's talk about the win over the Sharks.
You mean one of the most boring games I've had to work in my life?
God.
The Finnish fettuccine gets it done in the second period. Is 6 from Bukestad and Moser at 14:45, and that was it. Like the shots by period, 9-6 Sharks, 8-5 in the second Coyotes, 10-7 Coyotes in the third, total shots of 24-21. They're just that building was also kind of dead. Like there was just not a whole lot of momentum. There's a couple of good plays, a couple and that was it.
No, 100%. And one of the things too is like, yeah, sure, you're be happy about the win. Be as happy about as take every win you can, right? But I said it on the preview show for that game, for that one, that game specifically. And again, we'll go to the overarching of the back-to-backs in a little bit. But for that game specifically, I said I won't be convinced unless it's like a dominating, let's say like a 6-0 win or something like that. I wanted to see it like a 6-0 or like a 6-1 win. Like I wanted to see the Coyotes curb stomp the Sharks, but that didn't happen. It wasn't convincing enough. Yeah, sure, it was a shutout, but it just didn't vibe well with me. I was like, yeah, got the win, but it's 1-0 over the Sharks.
Look, a dub's a dub, but San Jose currently has 21 points. They are still under 10 wins. The Coyotes right now are a point ahead of the Blues. They're still in the second wild card spot. Nashville's separating themselves a little bit. They're 4 points behind Nashville. I am a little disappointed. I'm not going to criticize a win. All right. I am going to say the game was boring. I am going to say I expected more. I expected this team to be angry. You just lost. You popped off. What was that? 3-4 losses in a row. You needed to come back swinging. And I mean, they got the win. I'm not going to complain, but I'm going to complain a little bit. It was really, really boring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, it needed to be an exciting, dominating win.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I'm not going to, grovel over it too much because, like I said earlier, a win is a win is a win.
Is a win. Is a win. Is a shutout win for Connor Ingram. Side note, because I'm going to show my personal channel a little bit. I'm working on a video for the last 10 games. That's his third shutout in this stretch? Yep. Or third since the Cup Gauntlet. So the Vegas game, I think, is just outside of this window. But that's a ridiculous amount of shutouts Connor Ingram is putting up right now.
No, absolutely. It's just unbelievable that he's played that well, right? He's continually been impressive. And we talked about, the losing streak, and I feel like, continuing the stardom really ended up hurting that losing streak and kind of ended up leading to a lot of other snowball effects in those games. he had enough break time that time. He finally had enough time to recover, and he got the shutout again.
Yeah, and he looked solid. Now, to be fair,
It's
you're
against San
playing
Jose.
San Jose.
Yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair.
To be fair, they were playing San Jose, but at the same time, a shutout in the NHL is never, ever something to scoff at. So it was weird how he plays against Boston. The way they split it up in the back-to-back with Buffalo and Pittsburgh. And then speaking of Buffalo, they get the revenge game against Buffalo. Not as much of a kicking as I would have liked because Buffalo blew them out, but they won.
But you got the dub back. You got it back. I think that, to me, is a crucial piece. You kind of wanted to take that back to get your confidence back.
Yeah, so Clayton Keller, his 10th goal of the season from Alex Kerfoot. Kerfoot's got 14 assists in the season, by the way. Down this stretch, his last 10 games, I think it's around 8 or 9.
I want to point that out, actually. Alex Kerfoot, I think in terms of like a lot of discussions, or maybe I'm like looking at the wrong forms or whatever it is. But to me, it just feels like Alex Kerfoot is severely underrated right now. Like he's just not getting the attention that he deserves because he's been playing well.
Maybe he needs that because like we weren't hyped. We were happy the Coyotes signed him. That's a good depth forward. If you want to argue about the contract, you can. I don't really want to. But maybe he needs to be the underrated type to put up these kind of numbers. Maybe if he's going to outpace Clayton Keller and like assists in a stretch of games, we got to like talk about him like he's gutter trash. Like, nah, he's like the 14th forward and then he'll keep scoring good points.
Yo, I'm 100% for that. I'm also 100% for just, the overall role that he plays and, helping complete whatever line he's on, whether it's, filling in center as like top line center for the power play unit, or just, being the extra alongside, like earlier in, like, for example, at the beginning of the season when it was like him, Zucker and Cooley. Like that was a great line. Like, he fits well. He's been fitting well in almost every and most opportunities he's been given.
Yeah, and it's like he just filled the traditional bottom sixer, really quiet, no points for the first X amount of games. And then when he needed to fill in the middle of the top sixer, he just starts scoring points. So let's give it the goal scoring summary. Kells is 10th from Kerfoot at 15-12. I think I just got off saying that. Then Liam O'Brien, his third at 9:36 of the third period from Logan Cooley. One of those weird things where both goals end up only having one assist. So I guess we're watching a Euro League, Robin. Only one assist thrown around. Liam O'Brien, at least he scored and Cooley was able to set that up. I still am questioning the motive behind playing Cooley where he's at. The only logical assumption I can come up with is he needs to get his confidence back and quote unquote earn those minutes back. So maybe that's the route they're going. His production's definitely fallen off in the last stretch of games.
I'm 100% with you on that. One of the things I do want to point out though is the fact that it was back-to-back shutouts, right? Karel Vejmelka getting a shutout himself as well. I mean, like you said, yeah, I think Veggie needed a game like that.
Yeah,
he needed that
for that trade value. That and also like we don't hate Karel Vejmelka on this.
No,
show.
we don't.
Connor Ingram is just the starter. So like when you have a fringe guy like Veggie, good teams trade that guy, get a solid backup and some assets. That's what you do. Veggie can go be a fringe starter somewhere else. Connor Ingram's got this net.
Yeah, he's got it locked down. I do feel like, in a trade scenario for for Veggie, like the Coyotes still need to acquire another like back, like I could say like a true backup or someone like someone who can easily fill as a tandem role alongside Ingram, because you don't want to give Ingram 99% of the reps. We saw what that does. You want something that can give yourself like a healthy split, but you're definitely going to give Ingram more of those games.
Yeah, like the 1-1 was definitely a little extreme. It went on for a little long, but you were trying to establish who that number one goalie was through
Yeah.
their play. As soon as you found it, I think like a 3-1 split, maybe 4-1 is the way to go. 2-1
Mhm.
might be a little too short, but like 3 games on, 1 game off, I think that's more than perfect for how the schedule usually aligns, and that should keep them mostly well rested. Find a guy that can play, what is that, on average once a week?
Yeah.
Find a
100%.
guy
Yeah.
that could do that, or
Yeah.
once every week and a half, I guess, is the technical math if you're doing like at least a day off in between games.
Yeah. As long as we don't have to see, as we saw earlier in your season, where you had to end up starting Ingram like 6, 7 games in a row. Like, let's not do that again.
Nope.
Let's not do that again, please. Again,
I
yes, sure. He played really well for the first 5 game stretch, and you kind of had to ride the hot hand.
while the
But
win streak was active. I get it.
yes,
I totally get it. The Philadelphia, or not the Philadelphia game, the next game, that's where it got a little mucky. They did mishandle the practices a little bit. It happens. Things happen. It's the National Hockey League. You know what else happens? We get a break time. Let's talk about the sponsor of today's show, and that is FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL season stays hot on FanDuel. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if the Cardinals can manage anything resembling a win. That's $150. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action. The app is so easy to use with a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Matt, I very well might consider getting a money line bet for me personally, the 49ers versus Ravens on Christmas Day. Who knows?
I'm out of the fantasy football playoffs now because Saquon, Lockett, and ETN didn't do anything for me. Popping off a 5-game losing. My team this year either could not stop losing to start the season, could not stop winning in the middle, and then could not stop losing down the stretch.
Love that.
Former
Anyways,
champion out of it.
let's continue. I kind of want to wrap up our thoughts on the back-to-back shutouts before we kind of get just a quick look forward, Matthew. But wrapping up the thoughts for the wins, to you, knowing that they were back-to-back shutouts, were you convinced enough that they can turn this around and we don't have to see another stretch that we just saw recently, or are we just gonna continue going through this cycle, or do you need to see more?
I need to see tonight, so I'm gonna explain my reasoning. Buffalo has had a lot of struggles. They are not a terrible team, but they are not a great team. They're probably lower mediocre right now. San Jose, while playing better, is still overall a bad team. A shutout is not an easy thing. Back-to-back shutouts. I think we forgot to mention it. It's the first time back-to-back shutouts on back-to-back days. So Brian Boucher, we're not talking about you, since 1997 when Nikolai Habibulin did it. That was one guy. We had 2 this time. So that is not nothing. That is something that I want to approach at the forefront here, put that in front of my criticism and say that is impressive. That is no easy feat. Carell and Ingram had phenomenal games. The defense played well in front of them. The offensive support needs to be there a little bit more. It is what it is. But you are facing team is at 31 out of 32 in San Jose. You're facing a team in the lower half of the league in Buffalo, and you managed 3 goals over 2 games. Ottawa just fired their coach. I was actually on an Ottawa show yesterday morning, talking some sense, and the idea was thrown around, but it didn't get announced. So you see it all the time with teams. The players get a coach fired. A lot of them either, I don't know if it's taking it personally. I don't know if it's the shock of we just cost someone their job. I don't know if it's just they needed that new voice. Sometimes it could be a combination of any of them. I don't know that perspective. But teams come out motivated, and they usually tend to rip off some wins after a coach firing. This is going to be a very motivated Ottawa team. if the Coyotes can win this game, I'll start buying back in a little bit. But again, I'm going to forget the fact that they were shutouts. Beating one of the worst teams in the league by 1 and then a struggling team, by 2, not that impressive right now. Still good they got the wins. They're back in the playoff spot. I'm not complaining. I need to see them beat Ottawa, who's going to be motivated tonight.
Now, I have to double check because I totally forgot exactly what the schedule looked like at the end of last year. But is this technically a homecoming game? I guess it's the homecoming game for Jacob Chikrin.
Should be. According to what I know, and what I know is very little, unless it has to do with the Coyotes, this is Chikrin's homecoming. And I know for me, I brought it up a little bit on that episode of Talking Some Sense. There's definitely a little bit of bitterness from my perspective towards Jacob Chikrin because I thought very highly of him as the next potential captain of this team. So
Right.
whenever you get a divorce like that, there's going to be some bitterness. I don't actually have any negative like wishes for Chikrin. Like, just don't score against us. I don't care past that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like some Coyotes fans can feel still some sense of, maybe like I don't know, like a little giddy, kind of like a sense of win in some ways, because the Coyotes are in a better spot now than the Senators are. But Jacob Chikrin wanted to leave specifically for like a playoff caliber team.
Should have gone after the 2024 first, not the 2023 first. That was a good joke by friend of the show, Mike Gould. That was a good one on Twitter.
That would have been nice if they went after that 2024 first.
It's like, hey, unprotected 2024 first. Because like I guarantee Daniil Boot would have been available if they would have had a high second round pick. He wasn't really on the board for people.
No, he wasn't. I feel like that definitely could have been better, but you know what? I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna get too
right now. He's playing well. Not a knock against Boot. I'm just saying I think they got away with the second round.
No, Daniil Boot is like one of the top scorers in the KHL right now. Like,
I wouldn't go that far, but I know he's. Having
a good
season.
He's having a hot season for a rookie in the KHL.
Well, yeah, because they don't. It's not a developmental league, so they definitely are not afraid to scratch rookies and kind of mess with them. But let's see his stats right now. If this would actually load properly, in the MHL, 3 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. At the KHL, a pretty impressive 29 games, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points for a Locomotive. Playing well. Very good season for him. Very productive.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I think at least again for this case, the Coyotes fans a sense of at ease, knowing that with that draft pick, because who knows what? Yes, you're right. It could have definitely would have gotten drafted later. But when you can find a diamond in the rough, something like that, you can kind of prove people wrong. It's like, look, I had guys that said that this guy was going to be good. You guys didn't have anything on your draft boards.
Mm-hmm. And just as a small asterisk, of course, we don't actually know if nobody would have taken Boot at 23rd or something. But I'm just giving an educated guess. I
think what some people said, not for specifically for Boot, but for example, let's say for Simashev, for example, some people was like, oh yeah, he definitely was going to get taken up before the whatever, because it was not official, but there were some GM draft boards that had him a lot higher up.
Yeah, he would have been I don't think he would have survived 21st. Just to throw a number out there, I don't think he would have survived that late in the draft.
But that's for that. And talking about the Chikrin homecoming game, seeing the kind of effects that maybe that game that's gonna have. I'm curious to see what Mullet Arena is gonna be like with him around.
A lot of number 6 jerseys.
I'm sure Coyotes fans will pay at least enough respect for him and welcoming him back to Arizona, because he played a pretty key role for the team for the last few years.
Oh yeah, he did. So, he should have been the captain. Unironically, I still stand by that. He should have been the captain. He was primed for it. The kid of destiny.
Once OEL left, I felt like that kind of like I was under that boat too. I was like, ooh, gonna be chick for captain. It's what it's gonna be.
But neither here nor there. He's gone, so Chikrin doesn't exist anymore. Bye.
Exactly. Exactly. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to get more in-depth thoughts as the Arizona Coyotes face the Ottawa Senators. Tonight, we're going to get our 3 keys of the game and our predictions. We're going to do all that coming up right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. With the holiday season coming up, I know a lot of you guys might want to look to, buying a friend, a family member, a significant other, tickets to the next great sporting event or like concert or other major event in your area or someplace that, when you buy tickets, you shouldn't have to be, worried about, hey, is this going to be a good seat? Or am I going to be surprised by like these insane fees that are just going to make the cost of my ticket twice what I thought I was going to pay? Game Time is out there to fix everything with last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, easy to buy in and buy tickets at every kind of event in your area. You can even see views from all seats in the venue with their lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in pricing shows your total up front, so you don't have to get surprised by those insane fees. It will already be included in your ticket price. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Matthew, let's get to more in-depth thoughts about this game tonight. Arizona Coyotes versus Ottawa Senators. 2 teams, like as we mentioned in the previous kind of segment, kind of trending in different directions. If kind of like in the grand scheme of things, right? You kind of see the base of where they're going. What's your initial thoughts?
Let me just give you some team stats. Because the Coyotes need to win this game against a motivated team. They're going to be motivated. Power play wise, the Coyotes are 23.1%, 11th in the league. Again, I'd like to see it picked up a little bit. They were top 6 for a long time. Ottawa is 17.8. They're in the bottom part of the league. Penalty kill, the Coyotes are ranked at 15th. Ottawa is 30th. The Coyotes are going to want a solid power play night. Do it against Ottawa. Goals for per game, the Coyotes are scoring just over 3. That's 18th overall, whereas Ottawa, that's actually 3.35. They're scoring more than the Coyotes. They're also surrendering 3.42 goals a game. So their goals for per game is 10th. Goals against is 26th. The Coyotes' goals against is 2.87, so 11th. But the last 10 games, Robin, Coyotes 6-4-0. At least 2 of those were shutouts. Ottawa, I've actually got to watch a couple of their games, including the one I think it was against Dallas. It was while I was at work the other night. They're on a 4-game losing streak. 3-7-0 is their record in the last 10. They are trending the opposite direction. It actually does make a lot of sense why they make a coaching change. You can't fire the players. You usually fire a coach and see if that change will help out. This is interesting. It's because the Coyotes in every aspect except for goals for per game are a better team. We've seen the Coyotes be a better team in a lot of those team categories and still find a way to muck it up. So you kind of got to prove it to me against a motivated team. Take advantage of it and get this W.
You're right. Absolutely. I'm kind of with you on it overall, that this definitely is a prove it style game. Much like the previous 2 games, they're just prove it because of the way that, the trends have been going and what we know that this Coyotes team is capable of. Like you gave us an insight. The Coyotes, I should say, I'm talking to the Coyotes right here. Like gave us an insight on what that you are capable of with a 5-game winning streak over all of those Stanley Cup champions in the Stanley Cup gauntlet. Like that's the insight of what you're capable of. Like, am I to expect that you can sustain that all season long? Of course not. But if you can at least, bring some ounce of that kind of energy throughout the entire season, whatever it is, even again, it doesn't, like I said, doesn't have to match the energy. An ounce of that energy, I will at least be happy. But this still it does have to be an prove it kind of win for the Coyotes tonight against the Senators.
Can I offer a theory? So if we've looked at it, and for the most part on this show, through the ups and downs, their last 10 has been around 500, be it a game above, a game below, exactly 500. They've been around that.
Right.
And it was frustrating when you're winning one, losing one, win one, lose one. They kept alternating. Then you rip off a 3-game losing streak, the first one of the season, 5-game winning streak, followed by a 4-game losing streak. So obviously they're going to be in the middle of a 6-game winning streak right now. But is there a certain perception where when it's as extreme as it is now, where it's a pendulum swinging, it's not like a seesaw back and forth, it's a swing, either losing or winning, does it make the problems seem worse than they are? Or is it just more frustrating? I think it's just more frustrating because, like, a lot of the problems are going to be there that they're going to have to keep ironing out. But when the goal scoring just like disappears for 2 or 3 games or 4 games or 5, like it gets frustrating.
You're right. It does get frustrating. It gets incredibly frustrating. And like, especially because throughout the course of this season, the team has been trending only up. They've been like, at least on like based off of just overall look of the team, stats wise, this team has been a lot better than any of us have ever expected. So, and I feel like when that kind of, like you said, I think the pendulum example is perfect. When you take a look at that, I think it makes it more frustrating because when you go on that 5-game winning streak and then that 4-game losing streak, it's just like, how are they letting this happen? This is a much better team than we're led to believe, right? It just kind of makes you question everything. It really does.
It's like I think it's also because it's like it's veiled mediocrity. Like it's literally the 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, like whatever, or you do like maybe 2 losses, 2 wins. Like that's a little more like painful mediocrity. But when it's such a vicious swing either way, like I feel like that's like a frustrating like no matter what, I think it's safe to say at this point I was right. Painful mediocrity record wise, I did not expect it to be this it's like I do apologize a little bit that like I get as frustrated as I do, but like this team legitimately will go from looking like they can make it to the second round of the playoffs to, oh my God, they're a lot. They're just past lottery teams.
Yeah. I mean, I will say too, a little bit more to the Coyotes' credit, they've been getting healthier by the day since that losing streak, right?
Yes.
You had the return of McBain. I feel like once McBain got his feet going, things started moving a little bit more in the good direction. Like, I feel like that cannot be looked over either.
Nope, because right now there are 3 notable injuries. You have Dursey, who I do want to talk about like in the next episode if we do a nice little bonus for you guys. I do want to talk about the Dursey thing. Hayton, which is this injury is showing how valuable he was to this team. And then as a solid depth guy, Travis Boyd, who is having a solid year. He's not been bad his entire Coyotes tenure. We just had the first line Travis Boyd meme,
which was just like no more of that, please. But that's not necessarily just because he's bad, just because he's not a first line guy. He's a bottom sixer. He's a bottom sixer, but he works perfectly in that bottom 6 role.
And he also works really well with I think he went to college with Schmaltzy, but him Schmaltzy and Kells have good chemistry. That's really it. It's like he just happens to work really well. Sometimes you get that system quarterback and the system don't look too bad.
Yeah. All right, Matt. We got the FanDuel odds for this game ready. Are you ready to hear them?
All right.
Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs.
Yes. They're going to win.
At
underdogs.
Minus 105 on the money line, minus 114 for the Senators. So it means that this game is kind of a toss-up on the very toss-up standards for the Coyotes. For FanDuel standards, total points still remains at 6.5.
They got to adjust that. It's getting annoying. You see, my gut is telling me to watch out for what I want to say. What I want to say is this logically, you have a team that's going to be fired up in Ottawa. You have a Coyotes team that you're at home, and they've been playing pretty well at home, especially after the first handful of rocky bits at home. They've been playing really well. It should be a high-scoring game. But every time I want to say it's a high-scoring game, there's like a 28% chance it's like a 2-goal game. So I am just gonna go with it's gonna be a 3-1 final under the 6.5, and I will give it to the Coyotes because I am a homer. Gosh darn it! And also a donor. I am a donor.
All right, I will continue on that thought and be like, okay, I agree with you. I believe on the under in this one, based off of I think it's just like. The trends and things been going. It just feels like it's gonna go that way, to me. And I'm gonna stick with you. I am going to give the Arizona Coyotes the money line bet at -105. I feel like that's a decent value to have them at. All things considered, I will pick them the win on this money line bet. With my final score, I will give it. You know what? I'll mirror your score. 3-1 Coyotes.
3-1. So if it's wrong, I'm going to blame it on you.
I'll take it. I don't care.
I like blaming other people for my problems. That's how it works here, baby.
Is that going to be that way? Maybe with the potential. No confirmation on it yet. With the potential of doing that in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame everything on you. When I am drunk.
Anytime you lose in any of the casinos, Robin, I'm like,
no.
What did I do?
I learned my lesson when it comes to gambling. Here's the meta though: pull out like $20 in ones and just like only show up with like 40 or less, and just take your time. And whenever like the waitresses come around to take your alcohol order, because alcohol is free there, tip them $1 until they come back. So if you do it right, they're gonna keep coming back. You keep drinking over and over again. Vodka Red Bull. By the time your $40 is up, we're going up and down. Like 15 of those dollars should be gone, and you might require a hospital visit. That's the meta. My dad taught me the meta in 2018 when we went together.
I will say that something like that does work. I've done something relatively similar in the past. Anyways, any final thoughts before we close things off?
Actually, no. Head blank.
Well, I guess that clears it up then. That's going to be today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, Sirius XM, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter, or X as we now know it as, at @LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robin with a Y _LEANO. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask the question you might have. We might answer right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.